The reality is that is not the case, but a new state law has helped. It requires grocery stores to donate surplus food. It took effect in January of last year. Kira Lowe manages the Santa Clara County Food Recovery Program.
Businesses in Santa Clara County, in partnership with food recovery organizations, recovered over 11.7 million pounds of food.
And next year it's expected to be even more, with the law expanding to cover
they see a car
schools
coming out of a
and
parking
some
spot, they
hotels.
still
We're
fly
expecting to really
past you
see
like,
an
dude,
increase there
you're supposed
again.
to
A
wait.
big part of it as well is decreasing the amount of food heading to landfills. Jennifer Hodges, KCBS.
Anti-abortion groups are buying TV and radio ads and going door to door trying to convince voters to keep abortion rights measures off next year's election ballots. KCBS reporter Eric Thomas talks with a legal expert about why they don't want people to vote on the issue.
The primary reason is because pro-life groups have lost several recent elections that would restrict access to abortion in states including Ohio, Kansas, and Montana.
The way she
also,
drives.
they're getting a ton of bad
Some
publicity
people in
over
Napa
things like
are
the Kate Cox case
very
in Texas,
reckless.
where the state Supreme Court is blocking an abortion for a pregnant woman whose fetus is not expected to survive and who could suffer major injuries in childbirth. University of Pittsburgh law professor Greer Donnelly says this law intentionally makes getting an abortion difficult, even though it contains an exception for at-risk moms.
Language is really written in a way that's very ambiguous, and healthcare providers need the Texas Supreme Court to tell them that it's okay to provide abortions in these contexts.
Otherwise, they could face long prison sentences. Cox has had to go out of state to get an abortion. Eric Thomas, KCBS.
Drivers must have front and back license plates on their cars in California. When an Orange County graphic designer got fined for not having one on his front bumper, he decided to create a completely new kind of plate. Instead of drilling a hole in the front bumper of his precious Mercedes, he developed a plate that is more like a vinyl sticker. The design looks so legitimate, the DMV says drivers can use them on the road. For now, the only authorized seller is License Plate Wrap in a pilot program that includes nearly 8,000 drivers across the state. The vinyl plate costs about $160 on its own. A normal license plate only costs $25. These sticker plates will also make it harder for thieves to steal license plates. We are moving on to your landmarks now. Here's Jason Brush.
Tesla's labor spat in Sweden is starting to mushroom into something bigger as large investors in Scandinavia side with the union against the EV maker. A group of institutional investors in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark have co-signed a statement telling Tesla to reconsider its approach to unions and adopt the current approach to collective bargaining. A strike involving Swedish metalworkers against Tesla has grown to more than a dozen unions in Sweden, refusing to allow the shipment of new Teslas destined to customers in the country. Profit takers hit firm holdings after the San Francisco fintech went on a tear leading up to the Black Friday shopping bonanza. A Morgan Stanley analyst note sparked the selling by downgrading the firm to underweight from equal weight due to the stock skyrocketing more than 300% over the past year, including an 80% rip higher over the past month, as buy now, pay later financing has continued to rise in popularity with consumers. Stocks finished in the green today with the Dow up about 1 point, but another closing record for the Dow. The NASDAQ gained 90, the S&P up by 21. Have a Money Watch, Jason Brooks, KCBS.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight. 3. It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream. You sound like my grandpa. Please go home. The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet on the Xfinity 10G network for just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless plan and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Are you trying to enjoy the holiday season, but the stress of finding the perfect gift is making you a Grinch? I've got the perfect solution. Rosetta Stone. With With their lifetime subscription to 25 languages, you're gifting an experience that's fun, useful, and lasts forever. Your grandma can learn from the comfort of her recliner, and your brother can play with the exchange student he has a crush on, or at least try. They offer customized learning plans that include engaging and fun content to teach you both the language and the culture. I took a refresher on Spanish last year for my job, and just started learning Italian this year for my next adventure. Plus, they've got a special offer to help you make the holiday season more affordable. Visit rosettastone.com to score 50% off and get the gift that opens your loved ones to new experiences and perspectives. Visit rosettastone.com/radio to give a gift that doesn't flop. Offer ends soon. That's rosettastone.com/radio.
So the other day, I actually had a coworker talking to me about his to-do list, and it included changing his water filter. And I said, you know, if you had a LifeSource whole home water system, you wouldn't have to do that. Hey, it's Claire Beverly. It is true. A LifeSource whole home water system has no regular maintenance, no filters to change, no salt required. And the best thing is, it makes every drop of water out of every faucet in your home taste great. It also gives you softer skin and more vibrant hair because it filters out all those harsh chemicals like chlorine and other contaminants. Plus, you should know that LifeSource has the highest rated filtration capacity of any whole house water system, so you get more bang for your buck. And now is a great time to get in because LifeSource is turning 40 and they're inviting you to celebrate with huge savings. For a limited time, you save hundreds of dollars or more on a LifeSource water system. Offer ends soon. Call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit LifeSourceWater.com. Traffic and weather together at 3:28. June is taking us back to Marin County.
Flooded freeways pulling your ride all over the Bay Area. Some of the toughest spots have been a stretch of northbound 101 getting through San Rafael, flooding across all the lanes, mainly on the northbound side before North San Pedro. Early occurring accidents have been cleared. Also, so many calls about all the flooding on the East Shore Freeway, especially through Richmond, El Cerrito. It's basically turned into an aquarium, and traffic is so slow. At one point, westbound 80, they coned off the lanes before the central off-ramp because there's so much water there. So expect delays, heavy traffic, and all that water. Chilton Auto Body collision cam back to Highway 17. Slick conditions on that windy mountain highway. It's been one crash after another. The latest one overturned southbound 17 past Idlewild was blocking both lanes. Traffic was stopped, backed up into Los Gatos. Both lanes have just been reopened, so traffic is just now starting to loosen up. But there's a second crash now, northbound 17 before Idlewild, and traffic is stacking up now in that direction. Not as bad, though, at least not yet. Next update, 3:38 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
KCBS forecast is sponsored by the Walk Shop in Berkeley, the Bay Area's favorite walking shoe store, inviting you to put a spring in your step. The rain does just keep on coming. Temperatures in the 60s as a rainy afternoon is ahead. Chance of some thunder continuing into tonight. The rain also continues tomorrow as well. Temperatures about the same as today, low to mid 60s. Traffic and weather together on the 8th on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
Cover California is a free service from the state that's already helped millions of people like you get and pay for health insurance. With financial help to lower the cost of health coverage, you could get a quality health plan for less than $10 a month. Every plan covers preventive care, doctor visits, emergency care, and more. If you have questions, we're here to help every step of the way. Cover California, this way to health insurance. Enroll by December 31st at coverca.com.
What's driving the conversation in California today? Every weekday at this time, we explore topics that's making news in our state. This is the state of California. Good afternoon, I'm Megan Goldsby. The state of California just governed off this week. Food insecurity on the rise in California. The COVID-era policy previously allowed the state to issue emergency allotments, or EAs, for families to receive maximum benefits through the CalFresh program. But earlier this year, emergency allotments ended. This has had a big impact on the number of hungry households and food banks that are struggling to keep up with demand. For more, today we're joined live on the KCBS Ring Central Newsline by Becky Silva, Director of Government Relations for the California Association of Food Banks. Thank you so much for being with us. So let's talk about these EAs. When they went into effect during the pandemic, how big of a change was that for the families that needed them?
Hi, yes, that's a really great question to start us off. So on average, households received an allotment of an extra amount of about $180 per month in extra CalFresh benefits. So that really helps to boost the households up to the maximum CalFresh benefit level for their household size, which is huge. And statewide, over the 3 years that emergency allotments were in place, they totaled about $14 billion in additional federally funded benefits, which generated up to about $25 billion in economic activity. So it was, a huge boost and really helpful for the millions of households that are on CalFresh in California today, as well as for the local food economy where those benefits are spent.
That is a huge boost. I know you've studied the effects. What did that do for those families where they were able to, buy food, still pay for their rent? What are some of the effects there?
Yeah, so we did focus groups and interviews with dozens of CalFresh recipients. So a few of the things that they talked about is that those extra benefits really allowed them to purchase more and a greater variety of food. We heard a lot of people talk about how emergency allotments help them to weather income fluctuations. So, the idea there is that if you have extra benefits to be able to spend on food, then other parts of your household expenses in a month have a little bit more wiggle room if an unexpected thing comes up. And then we also heard a lot of families talk about the stabilizing effect that CalFresh emergency allotments had for them.
I understand you also studied what happened when those ended, though. What have you been seeing now since March when a lot of families have not been able to get the same amount of money?
Yeah, so good question. So I'll start by just saying that hunger in California is on the rise again, and that we're seeing similar rates in food insecurity that we were seeing at the very beginning of the pandemic back in 2020. So currently, about 1 in 4 households are experiencing food insecurity, or about 1 in 3 households with children. So just think about that. I would encourage everybody to think about that the next time you're taking a walk in your neighborhood or out and about. 1 in 4 households are experiencing food insecurity. And then through our focus groups and interviews with CalFresh households, we heard a lot of comments about how their experiences of food insecurity have intensified, that households are having to make trade-offs between food and other expenses, as you might imagine, like rent or utilities, other expenses that you have to cover in a month. We also heard a lot of comments around physical and mental health declines, and that is causing a lot of stress for households now that their food benefits have declined so significantly.
Yeah, it's not just about getting the food in our bodies to nourish it, but the toxic stress and the mental health difficulty of not knowing whether you'll be able to, say, feed your kids or eat that day.
That's exactly right. Yep, the toxic stress of not knowing where your next meal is going to come from, whether you're going to have enough money to purchase groceries next week. It's a real stress for households, and millions of people are experiencing this. So I'll also just say, to put it into scale, that there are currently about 5 million people that are on CalFresh in California. And so all 5 million people that are on CalFresh have experienced this really dramatic drop in benefits.
And what about the food banks themselves? I know last time I interviewed someone at a food bank, they said that they're just having so much trouble keeping up with the demand. Have there been enough donations? Has there been enough money? How are food banks doing?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. So we conducted a survey of our member food banks a couple of months ago, and the vast majority of the food banks responded have received more calls from community members seeking food compared with previous months since those EAs have ended. And in July, over 2/3 of food banks served more people compared to prior months. And so to cope with this increased demand, many food banks have had to increase fundraising, and also many have had to use a disproportionate percentage of their annual budget to supply food for their communities. And so food banks are definitely on the front lines and really seeing the impact of this across their communities.
Is there any chance these EAs could be coming back in some way?
I wish that I could say yes. Unfortunately, these emergency allotments were ended by Congress federally, but there are policy solutions that can make permanent improvements to the way that SNAP benefits are provided and calculated. So there are federal bills that would do this. So I would say the number one thing that we can do is to permanently increase benefit levels through the Closing the Meals Gap Act by Representative Adams, which would change the calculations that the USDA uses to determine benefit levels. And if that were passed, on average, households would receive about $125 more per month in benefits. And then on the state level in California, we can continue to build on Senator Menjivar's leadership to increase CalFresh minimum benefits so that nobody is receiving less than $50 per month. So I should also say for folks that don't know, currently, if you are receiving the minimum CalFresh benefit amount, you're only receiving $23 per month. And so I think we can all relate from our experiences going to the grocery store recently that that's, barely enough to cover a loaf of bread, a dozen eggs, and a gallon of milk. And so we have work to do in California to increase that minimum benefit so that it's more meaningful.
Thank you so much for your expertise on this. Becky Silva is Director of Government Relations with the California Association of the Food Banks. You can hear the state of California every weekday at 3:30 p.m. Also available on the Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcast. Getting caught up on your traffic now. Kim's telling us about a deadly crash on 680 in Pleasanton.
We've got a backup southbound at 680 approaching Soscol Boulevard. They've called for the coroner to launch an investigation. Up to 6 people hurt. Major injuries. Somebody has died in this crash. It happened after Soscol Boulevard. The two right lanes are blocked, and traffic is very slow approaching the scene for about a mile. This is counter commute. It's usually pretty heavy as you come into Pleasanton after coming down the Soscol Grade. That commute is actually manageable this afternoon. A little bit lighter than usual, and no new incidents to report on the northbound side of 680. We do have a crash in the Caldecott Tunnel, eastbound 24, and just before the tunnel, actually. And so if you're headed out of Oakland on eastbound 24 or northbound 13, it's starting to look a little sticky there. No new incidents to report on our Oakland freeways. In the South Bay, actually the freeways have also been light in the Santa Clara Valley. There is a crash. We heard about it from the phone force on northbound 85 before 237. A car went over the embankment. So that's causing a lot of extra attention. And Highway 17, one crash after another. We cleared and overturned southbound 17 past Idlewild. Both lanes were blocked. Traffic now trying to recover. Very slow ride out of Los Gatos for that southbound 17 trip into the Santa Cruz Mountains. And now we have a second crash. Northbound 17 before Idlewild, right at that dangerous left turn pocket. Both lanes are stopped right now as you head downhill. Next update at 3:48 on the traffic leader, KCBS. KCBS Bay Area forecast. This rain just continues on and off a bit. Looking out the window in our studios, I don't see it raining right now in downtown San Francisco, but it has been raining across the Bay Area. Temperatures in the 60s, and this pattern continues into tomorrow as well, actually into your Wednesday. Also, traffic and weather together on the 8th on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
Hey guys, did you know that half of men over age 50 have erectile dysfunction on some level? Whether you have mild, moderate, or severe ED, West Coast Men's Health can help. We don't prescribe pills and hope they work. Instead, we treat the root cause of the problem with acoustic wave therapy, which breaks down plaques, unclogs arteries, and restores blood flow. We have treated thousands of men across our 11 locations nationwide and have established ourselves as a leader in the industry. So whether you have ED, Peyronie's disease, or suffer from chronic pain, such as neuropathy, carpal tunnel, or Dupuytren's contracture, West Coast Men's Health can help. No pills, no shots, no surgery, just results.
With clinics in San Mateo, Pleasanton, Walnut Creek, and Elk Grove, call West Coast Men's Health at 650-407-1168. That's 650-407-1168. 650-407-1168. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Prescriptions required online consultation with a healthcare provider will determine if appropriate.